Welcome, one and all, to the film podcast that nobody listens to. I am your one host, Brodey. I almost said host.
And I'm David, your other host.
Yeah, we are both the hosts. There is not one host. There is no co-host. Like, this is a show of two guys, and they're both the host. And that's the podcast. So,
A show where we just like shit on Fellowship of the Ring.
yes, and James Cameron. So last week we recommended 2 horror films since it's October to talk about horror films, and we could just jump right into it. My pick was Possum, a very underrated British horror film from 2018. I didn't discover this. My good Twitter friend Pokegem, shout out to Pokegem, recommended this to me a while back, and the poster itself also intrigued me for a long time. I watched it. I was totally creeped out, unsettled, scared by it. Loved it. It's one of my favorites. Favorite horror films. It's my third favorite, actually, if I would be more specific. It's very strange, very artsy, but it's great. I loved it. David, what are your thoughts on it?
This is one of the scariest movies I've ever seen.
Yes.
Yeah, it's so unsettling. It's not even, because this is the first time I've rewatched it.
Yeah.
I don't really like to rewatch it. It's such a oh man, it's just such a downer. And I mean that in the best way. You know, like the way we don't like to rewatch, like Schindler's List. You know what I mean? It's a great movie. It's like, well, it's not one that you want to rewatch very often just because it's kind of a downer. And I think this is definitely right up there. It falls into that category too.
I'm so glad you like this because my brother is another horror fan, and I showed him this, and he hated it, which I'm not saying he's wrong. Everyone has their entitled to their own opinion. He didn't like it, but I love it. I'm glad you love it too because it is so creepy and so much depth to it. And it's literally, spoilers for it, by the way, it's just about a guy trying to get rid of a creepy puppet. That's what I tell people when I recommend it. It's about a guy who's just a weird, strange guy trying to get rid of a really unsettling looking puppet. But it's more than that, obviously. The film has so many different themes. I think most importantly, what he's trying to do is he is trying to physically get rid of his trauma through this puppet. But the puppet keeps popping back up in his life, and he just doesn't seem to know how to get rid of all that dark trauma in his life, you know?
Yeah, and that puppet, I mean, name
God damn.
scary looking thing in any fucking movie I've ever seen. Like,
yeah.
Jesus Christ.
They made the perfect creepy puppet. And at first when I watched it, I was a little disappointed they showed it so early. I'm like, why are they showing us to it now? Like, I thought they would build it up and then reveal it at the end. But I'm kind of glad they did because then they just shot it beautifully. I mean, when they would show it on screen, but like not for too long. It would kind of linger. It's like the scenes where he's dreaming or whatever, hallucinating, and the puppet moves. They move it just enough to where it's unsettling as fuck. You know? It's not like gimmicky. They move it just enough.
They move it, yeah, I was going to say, they move it enough to where you're not 100% sure whether it actually moved, whether he's tripping out. You know, like it's just enough where it makes your skin crawl because you're just like, what if that thing is actually moving?
Yeah.
He's not out of his fucking mind.
Yeah. Yeah. Especially, I love, it's towards the end when he's just running around, going to every location he try to kill it at, and it's just following him. And just like when he's in that garage port bay thing and you just see like 4 legs slowly hit the little crack, and it's just so subtle that he runs away, and then he's in that abandoned school, and then its arms come around the doorway, and its head peeks. It's just those little movements are nightmare fuel, man. God damn, so fucking creepy.
You don't have to be arachnophobic, and this shit will give you like a new fucking fear of spiders. Like,
yeah,
ugh.
And he was showing that to kids.
Yes.
Like, fuck, man. And the film does a great job with like establishing Philip's character and making you feel sorry for him because he's clearly a fucked up guy. Obviously, I'm convinced he kidnapped that kid in the beginning.
Oh,
But what
100%.
was him?
Yeah.
Because Morris is a apparition. But yeah, he's fucked up. But we see why. And I wish he just received help. Like that one heartbreaking scene where he goes to his old school. He's like, I used to go to school here, and obviously the principal's like, all right, come here. I'm calling the police because who's this creepy fuck? But like, he's just there to try to get some connection. He's trying to, have some sort of feeling that's not fucked up.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a pretty fucking like one of the more tragic characters that I can think of in recent memory.
Mm-hmm.
You just feel bad for him. You
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Not that he's perfect or anything. He obviously has his issues.
Clearly.
But I do think it's interesting that they make us. The movie makes us feel for him,
Mm-hmm.
despite knowing what he probably is.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Yeah.
it does a pretty good job of that. If you can make me feel bad for a shitty, fucking despicable person like that, you've done a pretty damn good job.
Yeah. Like surface level on paper, if we read his characteristics, we would hate him. But
yeah, of course.
we see like he goes to his old home that clearly his parents were killed in some sort of fire, either by Morris or by accident, and he was taken in by Morris, whether it's his actual uncle or just a foster parent, and Morris just tortured him. And how he's still seeing Morris despite him being dead is just so tragic. And it's funny because when we first meet Morris, he's not like an asshole. He's just kind of a grumpy old guy who just let me see. Like I love their accents too, but he's just like, let me see the puppet. Like he just wants to see him perform. And as the film gets on, Morris gets more and more dark. But he's not just straight up an asshole in the beginning, which I kind of like how they build him up as this monster.
Mm-hmm. Because Philip obviously looks at him like a monster, and we're all sort of like, he's not that bad. He just seems to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, obviously, once you get to the reveal, you're like, oh wow, this guy's truly a fucking monster.
Truly. And
yes.
I love how it's shot. I love the score. I love the atmosphere. I love the rhyme, the fucking rhyme he reads, that book he has that he drew. Like, to me, this is a perfect October film. It has one of the best atmospheres I've ever seen on a screen. It's just droning and dark and depressing and just I love the title sequence. Like for me, this is one of the technically well-made horror films I've ever seen. It's just so stellar and it's so low budget and small too, like it's very impressive.
Yeah. I don't know how much the budget was for this.
Let me look it up.
But you're right. It's shot stunningly well. I'm like most fucking $40 million budget horror movies
Mm-hmm.
don't look this good, and I'm sure this at a tiny budget. It's basically what a handful of actors and a puppet
Mm-hmm.
in a 80 to 90-minute movie. I mean, I can't imagine this was a big budget, but it's fucking gorgeous.
Mm-hmm. It does. Yeah. Very small crew. It doesn't have the budget on here, but I mean, I was going to address this anyway. What really pisses me off is this movie was either not released at all or just released in like one theater for one night because it only made $33,000 at the box office.
That's unreal, by the way.
It.
33 grand.
That's it. I mean, it was probably just released in a small town in Britain somewhere, or something, because that's nothing. It kind of has a cult following, and there was a YouTuber who has a good amount of subscribers did a video on this. So it's out there, which is good, but it's such a shame that it's not as well known because it's so good. And obviously this is not for everybody. My brother, like I said, he didn't like it, and I'm not saying he's wrong. He has every right to think that.
This movie isn't really for the faint of heart.
No.
You have to kind of have the stomach for it.
Yeah. Oh, yes. It's so hard and just dark and slow. It's very slow, and you and I like slower films when they're done well.
Yeah.
Most people don't, which I understand. Like I watched Lamb last night, that new A24 film.
Oh, I gotta see that. That looks really good.
I won't spoil anything, but it was also very slow and artsy and weird and very very weird. I liked it though. I think you'd like it too. But like those type of films aren't for everybody. So I can see how this wasn't marketed to a wide audience. Like Marvel fans wouldn't like this. Not just saying them, but the general audiences I can see saying that sucked. It was boring. Nothing happens. Like because it's really you have to really dive deep into it yourself, and you just come out feeling kind of gross and
Yeah.
dirty.
Yeah. Um, I'll say even beyond the slow part, this isn't a movie I would recommend to a lot of people, especially if they've been through specific trauma.
Oh yeah,
This is a very traumatic movie, and I'm sure it could also bring up some repressed feelings in a lot of people.
yeah.
Um, but it's pretty fucking it's phenomenally well done. Like
Oh dude,
it's
seriously.
written, performed, and oh man, it's so creepy. It's hard to describe how creepy this movie is.
Yeah, and it's creepy. It's scary is subjective, like comedy. Like not when we say creepy, we don't mean like we were hiding underneath the sheets, like shitting our pants. It means like for me, the story and the presentation really made me feel unsettled and just just creeped out and just like oh I remember the first time I saw this, I was just so like I just felt like I was in a trance. I just felt so wrong, and the puppet imagery wise was so fucking creepy. I love the look of the puppet. They set out to make the most fucked up looking thing I've ever seen, and they did. They accomplished that because that puppet man, I would if I could own that, I would because that's probably my favorite horror film prop besides maybe some other things. But that's like so creepy, man. You know, it's I just can't explain how creepy it is. You just have to watch this fucking movie. I'm serious.
Yeah, and I'm gonna. I mean, nobody listens to this anyway.
Yeah, that's right. The running joke. No one listens to this shit.
Yeah, but like, if anybody ever did decide to listen to this, I don't think there are many people that have seen this. Clearly, if it only made $33,000, even with a cult following,
Let me see
I
what
don't expect that
Letterbox
a lot of
has.
people have seen this.
I'll see what Letterbox has like for how many logs it has. Oh, well, this it's I
Not
mean
many.
16,000.
It's not,
That's not bad.
it's like um, it's for sure. Again, I don't expect a lot of people have seen this that we talk about. You know, that we talk with that is,
Mm-hmm. Well, hardcore
but it
cinephiles
is
would
one
like
that
it.
I will recommend to people.
Yeah,
Yeah, this is one that I recommend to like a hardcore um horror movie fan.
yeah, yeah. That
And so
for sure.
yeah, and the guy who plays Morris, I don't know his name. Maybe you know his name,
I'll
but
look.
he is so good in this. I mean, they're all great, but like
Alan
that man,
Armstrong.
Alan Armstrong. Thank you. He. I know him from some very specific like movies, like
Sleepy Hollow. Oh
for
shit.
me is Sleepy Hollow, yeah, and he's in Van Helsing, which is a fun movie that I enjoy that a lot of people hate.
Need to see that one.
Hugh Jackman Van Helsing. Um, yeah, and so I don't see him in a lot of stuff very often, but whenever he pops up, he's one of my favorite character actors. He's really good.
Mm-hmm. He is good, and so is Sean Harris, of course, like the star. He really carries the film, and you can just see his trauma in his eyes. He's so good as this weird. He's hunched over. His walk, his mannerisms. He is phenomenal in this film.
Yeah, he does a lot of like body contorting in this, and then I don't know if you ever saw a horror movie he did with Eric Bana. Oh boy, I'm blanking on the name now.
I don't think
Um,
so. It doesn't sound familiar.
a
Let me
horror movie with Eric Bana
see here. I'm
where
looking.
he's possessed.
Is it Creep?
No,
Not
give me
Creep.
one.
I'm looking at the.
Let me see here.
He's in a film called
Oh,
Trauma.
Deliver Us from Evil.
Oh,
Deliver Us from Evil is a Scott Derrickson.
never seen that.
It's
Oh, it's
people
Scott Dickerson. Oh, I'm
have
gonna
mixed
watch this.
feelings on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I like it. Enjoy it. He contorts his body more than any I've ever seen. in
Hmm.
that movie.
Okay.
He has an affinity for horror clearly, and I think he's definitely got the look for it. And I think he excels quite a bit.
Mm-hmm. I'll definitely check that out. He's just good. I mean, I think this is a flawless film from start to finish. Um, it's always a watch in October for me. I haven't watched it this month yet. I will here soon. I didn't get a chance to watch it before this podcast, but I've seen it so many times I can just know it from start to finish in my head.
Oh, okay.
Um,
I watched it. Definitely a movie that when you watch it after, again, it's like the jump scare type, but like it's a type of movie where after you see it, you're like, I really need to use the restroom, or should I stay in my?
I'll just hold it till
Like,
morning when it's light out.
yeah, I might just hold it till morning. It'll be fine. Now every creak you hear house or in your apartment, it's kind of like,
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah.
Like it just makes the hair on the back of your neck. It's one of those movies. Just it sticks with you. It sticks in your mind for a few days after you watch it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, this is only my second viewing because I think that would be the one thing I'd point as like my one flaw is being a big horror movie guy. My favorite thing about horror movies is that they're so watchable, they're so fun to watch,
Mm-hmm.
and this movie's great, but I can't say it's rewatchable.
Oh yeah,
That's just for me personally. I cannot rewatch this movie very often.
you have to be in the mood. You
Uh,
know.
yeah, you have to be in a very specific mood. Probably not gonna see. It's probably not like a date night type of movie. Probably gonna watch this on your own.
Yeah.
um, yeah. So I think that's my one flaw with this movie. But aside from that, it's pretty phenomenal.
What would you rate it then?
Somewhere between a 4 to a 4.5.
Okay.
I think it's strong. I think it's really, really strong.
That's totally fair. I'd give it a 5 out of 5, 10 out of
Did you give it
10.
a 5?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
It's my
that's fair.
third favorite horror film. My top four is, I may have mentioned this before, but Halloween 3, Season of the Witch, the original Frankenstein,
Mm-hmm.
this film, and then John Carpenter's The Thing.
Oh, of course. Um, I cannot with your top four. It's a strong top four.
Thank you.
Yeah, I have a tough time rewatching movies like this. But again, fantastic film.
That's fair though. That's totally understandable, man.
What was I gonna say? Anything else that stands out to you? Because I know, like, I think the camera work is really exceptional too. Like, I don't think we covered the camera work, but very specific, like the long hallway scene where you kind of just see the legs creeping up.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's really what like the shadowy aspects of it too. It's all really well done.
I definitely mentioned it's just technically flawless, and the camera work, the direction, like all of that. Like I want this director, Matthew Holness, I think that's what his name is. I want him to make more fucking movies. He's a British man.
Well,
So only
can you
directed three
imagine
things.
him like? Can you imagine him with like a
Dude,
under his belt,
that'd
like a
be too
Halloween movie
fucking
under
good
his
to be
belt?
true.
Yeah, it'd be easily the scariest Halloween movie.
Yeah, imagine him with a big
Like
budget.
I enjoy that. I love the shit out of that franchise, and I'm sure we'll do an entire episode on the franchise soon. But
Oh, we will.
I don't think any of those movies are particularly scary. I think if this guy ever decided to join in on like a franchise like this, or like a Friday the 13th or
Nightmare on
whatever,
Elm Street. Shit, give
it'd
him
be
that
scary
movie.
as fuck. Oh, oh my god, he would kill it with Nightmare on Elm Street.
Yeah, not some asshole who only directed music videos, and his first feature was the Nightmare on Elm Street remake. Who the fuck thought that was good? No offense to that guy. Maybe he had the confidence, but it just didn't work out. I don't want to be like a dick.
I don't think I've ever a 180 on a movie before because I remember seeing that in theaters
Oof.
and I enjoyed it. And then the second time I watched it, I was like, God, this is awful. Like, I never flip movie as fast.
Yeah. We were
Maybe it's
younger when
because I
that
love
came out.
Clancy Brown. Maybe it's, yeah, it's true.
And Rooney Mara was in it too. Like, holy shit, how did that become bad?
It's got a pretty good cast. It's got a pretty decent cast. Yeah, it's definitely. I think Connie Britton is in it too.
Yeah.
Um,
I
but yeah.
I think we should move on to your movie pick that I want you to introduce.
So I picked what is probably my favorite horror movie, and I can't say that there are a lot of people that agree with me that are like, "Oh, hey, yeah, this is definitely my favorite," and that is the Fright Night,
Mm-hmm.
not the original, directed by Tom Holland. The remake came out in 2011. It is fucking awesome. I enjoy the shit out of horror comedies that I can remember. One of
Yeah.
my favorite theater experiences. I'm curious to hear what you think about it.
Whew. Okay, well, first of all, I want to say this before I go in that I respect your opinion. I respect you as a person. And when it first started, I'm like, oh my gosh, this cast is stacked. Like, what a stacked cast. I mean, Tony Collette. I was surprised to see that.
Toni Collette is like the fourth or fifth billed person.
Yeah, and she doesn't really have a big role. I was like, okay, she's in there. I can't remember the Anton. What's his fucking last name? I can't say it.
Oh, Anton Yelchin.
Yeah, he's great. I love him and everything. Rest in peace to him. Colin Farrell, of course, was the best parts. I forgot who played Peter Vincent. He was fucking hilarious.
Oh, David Tennant.
He was
David Tennant.
good casting. You have James Franco and McLovin. I was so like every person that came on screen, like, oh, that person? What the fuck are they? And okay, I love you, man, but I did not like this movie, like, at all. I really.
Yeah. When I recommended this, I was like, I don't think Brodey's gonna like this, but I'm gonna throw it out there anyway.
It's not H2O level bad. It's not like I wanted to turn it off. I was just, as it went on, I was just questioning every decision that was made. The 3D back then, the 3D craze was huge, and that clearly you could see that movie was meant to be in 3D, and that really just was distracting. The CGI was just rough, and I don't know, man. I just did not like the main character. Like, I know he has the arc where he is such a dick to McLovin that it just turned me off so hard. And I know he had the arc at the end, but I still didn't like him. I found him so unlikable. I didn't like him or any of his stupid friends. I was rooting for Colin Farrell to kill everybody. I really was. Like, please just murder. I love how Colin Farrell just does not give a fuck. He moves so quickly to killing everybody. I thought it'd be a slow build up, where like he tries to entrust himself.
Straight into it.
He goes straight into it. I love that. I love how the movie doesn't care. And I loved how it was ambitious, but it's like, you know what? We're just gonna go right to it. Like that car chase scene. I thought that was the third act, but it was halfway through the film.
Yeah.
That felt like the third act, but no, I'm like, oh shit, there's more. So that was cool, but it just, man, I just was not into it. Unfortunately.
Again, completely fair. I think it's one of my favorite theater experiences. I remember seeing this in theaters. 2011 is when this came out. I just didn't really go into it expecting much. I had seen the original. I really liked the original. But I saw this, and I think it was specifically Colin Farrell stood out to me. Mm-hmm. I think Colin Farrell is so damn good in this movie.
He is great.
Yeah, he is so good. And David Tennant, also fantastic. And it's really funny. I think that's maybe the biggest reason why you don't like it is you didn't like the main character.
Yeah.
And I think I just always loved Anton Yelchin. And obviously this came out years before his untimely passing, but I always liked him, and I was Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Newer movie that J.J. Abrams directed. As
Chekhov.
So I'd known him from that, and and so I loved him. I think his girlfriend's really good in it. Imogen Poots, she's all really good.
Mm-hmm.
I love her in I don't know if you've ever seen Green Room.
Yeah, that's a hard film to watch.
Yes. that's another time.
Seriously,
And
that's a good one.
and she's great in that. Again, I really stacked. I mean, uh,
Seriously,
again, I think yeah, it's really good. Craig Gillespie, I think he directed it pretty well. If you like his filmography, he's got some really bad movies in there. You know, I really like it.
hey, more power to you, man. I loved how Peter Vincent was like this Vegas magician, fucking like fake guy, and then he goes to see him, and at first I was like, "That's his look." I didn't like the look, but then he takes off all the makeup and stuff. Oh, it's just for show.
Yeah,
And then he's like, "I need your help," and he's like, "Bro, I'm just a fucking. You said I was fake, right?" I loved how he was a big pussy the whole time until finally the ending. He actually stands up for himself, and he was. I liked how they switched him up because in the original he's like Van Helsing, but not Van Helsing. In the I forget the
yeah.
actor who played him. Uh, uh, uh,
Oh, Malcolm. Is it Malcolm? All I know is that the original actor who played him was also in the original Planet of the Apes. I don't know if you remember that.
yeah. He was great. He's good in that
Yeah,
movie. But this David Tennant was really good. He was really funny. He brought a lot of energy to this film that I felt was lacking. This film just felt so. I just did not give a fuck about Anton's character, which sucks because he is like the main focus. But it's good that
yeah.
the film moves along at a really fast pace. It really does. There was a few like slow moments, but like I just didn't care. I didn't care for him, man. But Colin Farrell was a standout. Where he really just I can tell he had fun making this movie. He was so I just loved how he just didn't care, like especially in the middle of the film when he like ripped out the house's like gas line and like blew it up. I'm like, God damn, like this feels like the third act, but I paused it and it's still at 50 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck's gonna happen in the next 50 minutes? You know?
He, the way he basically destroys that house. Like, I don't need an invitation if there's no fucking house.
Yeah,
I was like, oh
great line.
shit.
Great line.
Yeah. I love like the neighborhood, like kind of chase scenes or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
like I don't know. I enjoy like the suburb aspect of like, well, anywhere we go, we're fucked because he can find us.
Yeah.
We can't really go anywhere. We're in the fucking desert. I think Tony Collette alludes to that when they're in the car.
Yeah. No, she does.
Um,
The neighborhoods also was interesting because
yeah,
it was just like a box with nothing around it.
yeah. This thing is, I've only been to Bay times. I don't know if that's how people live out there. If they're like suburbs like that out there,
Mm-hmm.
um, but it made them feel very isolated. I guess it made it feel
Yeah.
even creepier because it's like, well, they can't even get away from this guy even if they wanted to.
Yeah.
Um, but what do you think comparatively to the original? Because you've seen the original, right?
Yeah. The original and the second
Um,
film of the original.
what do you think about like the differences, or is there something that particularly stood out to you as like, wow, this is way better than that, or this is way better than this in terms of like, oh, between
Um,
the new one and the old one?
Honestly, man, I just think the original works way better because it's a great 80s concept. The 80s was
Mm-hmm.
perfect for dark comedies, horror comedies. Um,
Yeah,
it just had the 80s feel fit that story very well. I'm not saying this film didn't. I liked some changes that they made, but it just felt like this is a remake of an 80s horror film. Like that's just I couldn't get that out of my mind. Especially like the casting was good, but I'm not gonna lie, man. McLovin plays McLovin in every fucking movie, and it's so
yeah, pretty
distracting.
much.
Like the actor, good for him for playing that role very well, but he plays the same fucking character in every single movie. Even now, it's like it's just I felt bad for him because Anton was such a dick. He said when he said to his friend, "Well, obviously I'm happier now without you in my life." Like, damn you asshole! Like that, like that's just cruel. Like that's not like I know they're setting him up to be like, oh, the cocky. And by the way, I hate that fucking that trope where the kid is cool. He has friends, old friends that are nerds, and he's addicted to them because he wants to stay cool. I hate that shit so much, and it's so pointless. It is. They could have cut that out. They could have had them as friends, and nothing would have changed. It just would have made the main character less like an asshole. Like I still don't understand why. I get because at the end McLovin becomes a vampire because he was treated so poorly. I guess that was cool, but like, cut that shit out. Seriously, it was pointless.
Did you get the score? Because I really like the score,
The
and
score was
it's a
good.
really early Ramin Djawadi score, who did Game of Thrones and who
Oh, okay.
did Iron Man. Pretty, I mean, he has a pretty big catalog under his belt, and it's one of his earlier films that he scores.
No, the
Like
score was
right
good.
before he started doing, yeah, it was right before he started doing Game of Thrones. On the time it started, so yeah.
No, the score was good.
Um,
Um, I thought it was fairly well shot. It's just the CGI and the 3D was just so, just like, oh damn it, why, why, why? I know like CGI ages poorly unless it's Jurassic Park, but like it just like especially the blood. I'm like, oof. It's just and I don't want to sound like I'm right and you're wrong because that's hard when I know we're talking very cordially, like we're not arguing, and I know the not
yeah.
listeners would hear that, but like I hate when I'm dogging a film that someone else likes because I know you like it. I'm not saying you're wrong and I'm
Uh,
right. I'm just addressing my problems with it. So I know you know this. I feel like I had to say
oh
that.
no, you're good. You're good. Yeah, you go for it. Tear it apart if you want to.
I mean, it's not bad. Like I mean, I didn't like it. I wouldn't say it's awful. It's not like again H2O Resurrection, but I just wasn't a fan. I will say I love the Chris Sarandon cameo. That was
Little
awesome.
cameo where he gets fucking eaten.
That was
Oh, it's so
excellent.
cool.
I love that. Like, oh hell yeah! I'm so glad he was in it. Like he got it. That always warms my heart when I see like cameos of old actors in remakes. You know, I just love it. I don't know why.
Yes, it's so awesome.
So that was cool.
I kind of wished the original actors were also in it too, like a couple of like, I don't know, just random neighbors or something.
Yeah, yeah. It was just him. I'm glad he was in it though. He's great.
Yeah, yeah, he's great. Um, not, kind of a Scream King, right? Like he's got a few horror movies under his belt between Fright Night and like I think he did the Child's Play, right? He played the
Child's Play.
detective, the first Child's Play.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and he's
Scream
the
King right
voice
there.
of Jack Skellington in Nightmare Before Christmas.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah,
met
dude, I'm
him.
telling you, that guy is a Scream King.
Yeah,
Oh, you've met him?
yeah. 1 year of Horror Hound. This was 2016 or 17. That's the year Child's Play was there. The cast. That's where I met Brad
Uh-huh.
Dourif. I met Catherine Hicks, Alex Vincent, him, and Kyle from Child's Play 2. They were all in one big room. They're all very nice people. Really, really, really nice
Oh,
people. So that,
cool. That's awesome.
yeah,
You get a picture with him?
yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, man, was that you or was that me?
It's okay. But what were you saying?
No, I was asking, did you get a picture with him or like how was he?
I got a picture with Brad Dourif. He was super cool. I didn't get a picture with anyone else. Actually, I did get a picture with Alex Vincent a few years ago too. But yeah, they're all cool.
Chris Sarandon looks like a tall, a big guy.
He was pretty tall.
Um, all right, sorry, we got off topic here.
That's okay.
But yeah, I mean, like, I really like this. Like, I also really enjoy the original. Like, I shit on the original or anything.
No, yeah.
I enjoy this one more than the original. And I know you're a big fan of the second one.
Mm-hmm.
Because of Tommy Lee Wallace directed that one,
Yep.
and it is good. I'm fine with it. I don't love it. Um, uh, I think maybe one of my favorite aspects of this movie is I feel like it's very fun. I don't think, again, I think it's kind of like, I know that's where we disagree. I think it's kind of a breath of fresh air.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have when I sit down to watch this movie every year. I'm not like, all right, I'm gonna sit down and watch a serious film. I'm just like, I'm just gonna, grab a couple of beers, get some pizza. Just gonna sit
Yeah,
down and watch this.
and that's great.
And yeah, I just enjoy rewatching these movies. This is one of the, you know, I have a very select few movies that I rewatch once a year. This is one of them, along with like Jaws and like V for Vendetta and like Predator. Like those are the few movies that I rewatch every year.
Well, that's how I feel about Halloween 3. Like, I love it as a horror film, but it's also very fun and very, like I could watch it over and over again, never get old. And this film is
Yeah.
not boring. Like I said, it could have easily been, um, fuck, like, conventional, you know, not taking any risk. Again, it surprised me how quickly he was trying to kill them. Like when at that one scene where he asked Anton for beer and he tried to get in. Right after that, like it just moves because then like I thought his mom and her like they were gonna like she was gonna fall in love with him and he was gonna try to stop that, but no, he just says fuck you, I'm gonna blow up your house. Then they have the car chase. Like holy shit, it gets a little slow after that because Tony Clay gets to the hospital and then they try to figure out how to kill this guy and Peter Vincent finally stops being a pussy. And then the girlfriend, I was surprised to see she got bitten. I'm like, oh fuck, she's fucked, and I'm glad she was saved. Um, I just think my main problem with it was I just didn't care, you know. I may have gave a too harsh of a score the more I talk about it because I might raise it now that we're talking about it. But like, it's just the main character. Just I didn't like him, man. I thought he sucked, and which sucks because Anton's a great actor. I just think the writing for him wasn't that good. It should have been McLovin should have been the main character, even though I think he was distracting. You know,
You know what? I've actually argued that in the past too. I think McLovin very easily could have been the main character in this movie.
but he would have been too
Again,
distracting
I think
because he's too
yeah,
McLovin.
yeah,
You know,
yeah. Um, yeah, I think not the total enjoyment of the movie, but a lot of what rests on you liking the movie is whether you like Anton Yelchin in this movie,
yeah,
and because obviously almost completely focuses on him.
he was just kind of
And
bland though,
again,
man.
I can't I love that dude in pretty much everything he ever did.
Yeah, especially Green Room.
Um,
He is great in Green Room.
oh, Green Room. Well, we gotta talk about that one of these days.
I haven't seen that since I first watched it, man. I'm serious. I have not been in the mood to rewatch that, but I love it. I think I gave it a 4.5 out of 5.
Oh really? Oh, so you have a tough time rewatching that one?
Yeah, just because like I remember the scene, spoilers for it, with the dog, and like when that one character just gets mauled, it was just oh my fucking
Yeah.
god, it was just so like visceral.
No, the one I remember is I don't know if you remember, but Anton's hand almost gets cut off.
Yeah, his arm gets fucked up too, and that one when he's trying to like push him, like it's just that's a yeah, we do got to talk about that one
It's
sometimes.
very gore. It's a gore fest, but it's pretty fucking awesome. Yeah, I don't think that one's considered a horror movie per se, more of a thriller. But I fucking love that movie too.
Well, and to switch back to Fright Night, um, it's because Halloween 3 has a protagonist that's a fucking dickhead, shithead asshole who he's an alcoholic, doesn't spend time with his family, and he runs off with a young chick he just met, which I think is hilarious. I appreciate it because it's so different. So I'm not saying the main character has to be this angel who does no wrong, who we have to care for. A protagonist can be flawed, and that's actually more interesting. And Anton's character had
Yeah,
potential for me, but I just think he was too cruel in the beginning because he came off as like the nice shy guy, but then he just says, "Well, I fucking hate you." Basically, he said that awful thing to his friend. That took me so far back that even though he redeemed himself, kind of, it was enough for me to just get on his side. Like he went to his McLovin's house looking for clues, and he watched those home videos, and I could tell he felt bad saying it, but I just felt no redemption, even though he saved the day. And I didn't, and I felt bad because McLovin's character, I know he's not McLovin, but he basically is. McLovin turns bad because of that line. It just rubbed me the wrong way. And I just wish they cut that or something, you know?
So I'll ask you: were you before he said that shit to him?
Yeah, I mean,
Where you're like, oh, okay, I get Anton, I take this vibe.
yeah.
Like, was that like the turning point? Was the interaction with them in the house?
Yeah, he's just like, I know his friends were douchebags. I just don't like that trope. That trope also just like was too much. From like, oh come on, like, do we have to do this? Like, I want to ask movies. If I could ask movies, I would be like, movie, do you have to do this? Can we just cut this bullshit? Like, it just doesn't fit this movie because it never comes back up. Like at the end, oh, I guess James Franco was like, hey man, you're cool. Like he was awful. I'm sorry, I don't like him. He less 24 20 21 Jump Street. He's good, but I thought he was awful in this. Like I don't get why movie bullies want to kill kids. I don't understand. Like especially what's that one movie? Oh, like It. Like why do movie bullies just want to kill their like the kids they're bullying? Like I like what what causes you to just become a psychopath? Like I get bullying,
Might
and
be,
you
yeah.
know
I was gonna say that might be the one thing I don't like about the It remake. The bullies just felt so over the top to me.
even the
I was like,
'90s
man,
version.
these guys are like, I was gonna like, these kids are fucking carving into this kid's stomach. I'm like, I don't know any bully that did shit like that.
Well, they're just
Jesus Christ.
psychopaths, you know.
Yeah, I'm like, I don't think any. I mean, there are psychopaths out there. I don't think would all hang out and bully one kid. I don't know. Maybe
Dude,
it's just me. I don't know.
even Rob Zombie's Halloween, the bullies, which was the spy kid, doesn't want to kill Michael Myers. He's just a douchebag. Like he even in a Rob Zombie movie, the bully does not want to kill the character. But in this fucking movie, and in It, and in other movies, like I even like McLovin's like, all right, dude, like you beat me up. Like our last movie, A History of Violence, he's like, all right, man, you kick my ass, like you win. And the bully just leaves him alone. Thank you, A History of Violence. In this movie, McLovin's like, dude, you kick my ass. What's the point of this? And then he just pushes him down, or and then he runs away, and that's how McLovin turns into a vampire because of that bullshit. Like that. Listen, they could have cut that out. They could have had McLovin sneaking in the house, and that's how he gets bit. You know, like why do we need the bully shit?
Yeah.
And this is not critiquing this one movie. This is a whole trope of the bully thing. I hate movie bullies. Unless, well, Biff from Back to the Future actually serves a purpose for the stories. He has an exception. He's actually a good villain. But in this case,
That's an all-time bully right there.
yeah, he's probably the all-time best bully in any film. I just hate bullies in general. I hate bullies in movies. I don't like bullies at all. So, like, for me, it just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. And this movie just was so unnecessary. It did not need it. It did not need this shit. You could have cut those characters out. They just get butchered. I'm so glad they got butchered. He just went up to their car. I loved how random that was, by the way. He just walks up and says, "Hey,
taps on the window.
Hey guys." And he goes out, "What do you want?" Just fucking massacres them. I fucking love that. That made me laugh so hard. I'm like, thank you. Like, so random.
Oh, what's his line? It's just like, hey guy,
Yeah,
and then
yeah. You know what?
so awesome.
I'm rating this up half a star. Just the more we talk about it, the more I'm like, you know, it's not that bad. So I'm just gonna upgrade it right now. I think that's fair. I think my rating now is as fair as I can be. So it's not bad. I can understand why you love it and other people would love it. I just think it's not for me. Like early 2010 films.
Let me tell you.
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. No. I was just gonna say, do you have a favorite scene? Because I have one that stands out because I think it's just so well done. But do you have one?
I really enjoyed the progression of Anton, his girlfriend's like, you don't act like this. I want to know what's going on. I loved her character too. She was great. Like, I want to know what's going on. And he's like, I can't tell you. Then Tony Clark comes downstairs and she's like, what's wrong with you? And then he knocks on the door and he's like, don't fucking answer the door. Don't let him in. And then that's when the whole, like, he blows up the house and the car chase. That whole sequence to me was like, this is awesome. So that.
Imogen Poots so good in this. I like how she even acknowledges. She's like, I know that you're a fucking nerd, and I still wanted to date you. I don't care about that.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, it's so refreshing from the hot girl, from the prototypical hot girl in almost every movie, and she's not that.
Yeah.
And
I agree.
But my favorite scene is when Colin Farrell dates his neighbor, goes on a date with his neighbor.
Oh, the stripper.
The strip, well, I guess not. What did she say? Go-go dancer or whatever.
Right, right, yeah, yeah.
Um, they go into the. He goes into the house to try and find her. He finds her, and obviously he goes in. He bites her. He's
Yeah.
hiding the entire time. The whole entire scene of them trying to get out with him, not seeing. And I love the way it's shot. I love the fact that he actually knows that they're there,
Mm-hmm.
like the entire time. The moment they step out, just boom, completely just.
Yeah, that was great. That surprised me. That was a very creepy scene, very suspenseful. Her death was like, oh shit. Like that's why I was worried in the ending.
I remember that one specifically in theater too, because
Yeah.
in the theater, I remember everybody gasped, or we were just like, did not expect that.
No.
He turned her that quick, and as soon as the sun touched her, she was dead. I was like, fuck.
Mm-hmm.
That was tough, especially because she was such a nice character too. It's not like, oh, that was like just a random slutty character, or like she was like the nice neighbor. And she even saves him. She tells him to she kind of gives him the signal when she's getting bitten to fight.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh man.
Well, the cliche
I don't know. I think that's
hot
a
girl in
really
the film,
effective scene.
they show her ass. Like, oh my god. I mean, I know it's a trope, but at this point, I mean, obviously this is 2011, so I can't fault the film for that. But it's like, oh my god. So glad it's kind of over with.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I'll give you that. But yeah, so just I want to talk about that scene too, because I love that scene. And yeah, again, I don't think we talked a lot about David Tennant, but I think David Tennant is so good.
Yeah.
I think you're right. I don't think this movie works without David Tennant bringing anything he does when he's on screen. He's so funny.
He's so funny. His line delivery is perfect.
Random. It's incredible. His timing is so good. And random fact, but his you call her Ginger?
Yeah.
Um, actually, kind of random.
Oh,
I
really?
remember finding that out. I was like, oh, yeah. I'm like, oh, okay.
I,
Random fact. I thought she was. I like her. I enjoy her banter with David Tennant in that movie too.
I,
Not
I
in it for a lot, but I like her too.
I loved when Anton sneaks in. He first meets him, and he's trying to ask him for help. And then the girl walks by, and they have some banter. He looks at him. He's like, "I fucked her." That was so funny.
That's so good.
All of his lines. I loved how they switched his character to I mean, he's not a pussy. I mean, he kind of was, but then he grows. Obviously, I like how I did like their chemistry. Vincent and Charlie, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Charlie's. I like their chemistry. Not as strong as the old actors in their chemistry. Those guys, especially in part 2, they really just work well together. But I just wish Anton's character was better. I'm sorry. I just wish if they just cut out the bully shit in that line, I would definitely love this way more. But that just, I don't know why that left such a sour taste in my mouth, man. I don't know. I just can't explain why.
Yeah, it's completely fair. Again, I think maybe it's because I've seen it so many times, but the more and more I watch it, more and more I enjoy it. So maybe, who knows, we'll rewatch it one day in the future.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll like it more. I wanted to do that with Home Before Dark too.
There you go. Yeah, I'll definitely give this another
future
chance
too.
sometime.
Yeah, next Halloween. But yeah, so again, one of my favorite movies ever. It's not a common one where you'll hear I think the same thing with you. You don't hear a lot of people that'll tell you oh yeah, Season of the Witch is my favorite horror movie.
The one without Michael Myers.
You and I have very weird.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I loved your love for this movie.
Have very particular things.
I love your love for this movie. I love when people love movies that aren't popular. You know?
Shit out of this movie. But yeah.
What would you rate it?
I think I gave this one a 9.
9? Okay.
I give it a 9 out of 10. I know it's not perfect. It has aged really poorly.
Yeah.
I love this movie.
For now, I had it as a. I just had it at a 2 out of 5. I raised it to a 2.5, so a 5 out of 10. It's not bad. Yeah, I know it's a half, like that's 5 out of 10. That sounds bad, but it really, I don't think it's bad.
No, 5 out of 10. I actually think is a lot higher than I thought you were gonna give it when we started talking about it.
It's not at some other trash level. It's not trash. It's not so bad it's good. I would say it's fine. I just have my problems with it my problems outweigh. It's actually half. I like a lot of it. I don't like a lot of it. So it's just half down the middle. So I would still recommend it because it's compared to other 2010 horror films, especially early ones, it's not bad at all.
Yeah. Um. Um. You have a recommendation for next week?
Yes. So to the audience that's not listening, we're gonna do an episode every week. Talk about 2 horror films each of us recommend. This is the first one we did, which went very well, by the way. We had good discussions on Possum and Fright Night 2011. My recommendation is my 4th favorite horror film, and I know you love this film as well, but it's John Carpenter's The Thing, 1982.
Okay, I cannot wait to watch this movie.
Yeah.
It is, in my opinion, maybe the greatest horror movie ever. Like,
I would agree.
I think it's right. I think it's between this and like The Shining. I don't think it's between these.
It's between this and Frankenstein for me, but definitely the best made ever. But what's your pick?
It's incredible. So I'm going back and forth on this. I think I'm gonna go with. I'm not sure if you've seen this, The Orphanage.
The Spanish film?
Yes.
Yes, I've watched it either last year or 2 years ago. So that'll be good to rewatch that and talk about that. Okay. That's what, 2009?
2007, I think.
Oh, okay. Close
I think
enough.
it's 2007. I could be wrong.
Okay. Cool.
Um,
Good pick. That should be fun. That should be
and
fun.
it'll be fun to rewatch to watch. I guess so. That means that next week we're gonna watch the movies.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see some of because yeah, I think J.A. Bayona directed this.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's this of it.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Should be good. So, all right. Next week it'll be The Orphanage and John Carpenter's The Thing. So tune in next time to the lucky audience. Oh wait, there is no audience because this is the film podcast that nobody listens to. That joke will never get old. So, later.
See ya.